Because the Rage Winterchill fight in Mount Hyjal is fairly straightforward, this will be a good way to demonstrate the Arcane Frost spec. As you can see, we are regaining mana as he comes in, since a lot of mana will have been spent in the AoE packs leading up to Rage. You also want to make sure that you have a full complement of mana gems if you're using the Arcane spec. So if you don't have all of them by the time he comes, summon them up, and just keep drinking while they pull him. You want to make sure you have a full mana bar for this. He has two abilities really to watch out for, otherwise it's tank and spank. One of them, as you see to the right there, is a Frost Bolt that will kill you, as you see there, unless you move out of it. As a mage, you can use Blink to move out of it. That means you want to save your Blink until he Frost Bolts you. His second ability is Area of Effect, Death and Decay. You can see it right there. You want to move out of it instantly if you see it, otherwise it will kill you instantly. It's somewhat hard to see, so turn up your spell detail. Other than that, it's a very straightforward fight. If you're using Arcane spec, you're going to be using Arcane Blast primarily. The first three casts of Arcane Blast are between 2.5 and 1.5 seconds in terms of cast time, and have a moderate mana cost. After you build up those three charges, however, the cast time is only 1.5 seconds, less of course of haste, and the mana cost is quite large, at over 600 mana. That makes it both a very expensive spell in terms of mana per second, but also a very high DPS spell because of the fast cast time, especially if you have various arcane talents. So what you want to do with an arcane, you see I frostbolted there and had to blink out of it and move, and hopefully you'll be healed up afterwards. But as I was saying, with this spec, what you want to do is spend as much time as you can casting these arcane blasts, and alternating with frostbolts in between to slow down mana usage. Ideally, you would just cast arcane blast the entire time, but you will run out of mana. And so, including a frostbolt or two between every 3 or 4 arcane blasts helps to minimize the mana loss. And of course, you can adjust that ratio. The more frostbolts you cast, the more mana efficient you are. The more arcane blasts you cast, the higher your DPS, which can be very, very high. In order to make this spec work, you must have a great deal of mana regen. So you must have a powerful Shadow Priest in your group, and you must have either a mana totem from a shaman or a Blessing of Wisdom. In addition, you may consider replacing either your oil or your food with mana oil, and allowing the other one to be your DPS food or oil. And of course, you'll want to use a Flask of Supreme Power, because Pure Death does not give any bonuses to Arcane, which will be your primary cast. Benefits of this allows for great flexibility because of the short cast. You can move around a lot, and there's no time lost as the bolt flies from you to the target, so you'll never have the target die as you have a fireball en route. It's instantly at the end of the cast will cause the damage. Those small benefits really do add up, and it allows for a huge amount of damage increase. Also, in order to mitigate the mana loss, you will want to be using a mana gem and a mana pot at every possible cooldown. So as soon as you have used up 3,000 mana off the top, you want to use a mana pot at the beginning of the fight, so you get that timer running. And as soon as you lose another 1,000, you want to start with your lowest mana gem, so you get that timer running. Actually, you probably want to do that in reverse. As soon as you hit 1,000 under maximum, use your lowest mana gem, and then mana pot as soon as you get 3,000 below maximum after that. Especially if you're using the Serpent Coil Braid, which is very useful for this given spec, because it gives you not only more efficiency out of your mana gems, but makes that mana gem usage that you'll be using all 5 of probably in the course of a fight anyway, and turns it into a way to create extra damage. As you can see, my both my gems and my pots are on cooldown, so I'm having to use a lot more frost bolts. I just blinked out of one of his frost bolts at me, which means my blink is on cooldown, so if he casts another frost bolt at me, I will probably die. Luckily we kill him first, and that is the Rage Winterchill fight and the Arcane spec.